A very good afternoon to you, Diabo, and to our viewers there at home. Just coming to you at the back of that briefing by Cosatu Central Committee, this being the 14th National Ordinary Central Committee meeting of Cosatu, the first one for the year. A lot just coming under the spotlight where that three-day meeting is concerned. Chief among it being the issues of just the alliance there, where Cosatu, the SACP and ANC are concerned. Also just talking about the issue of the country's energy crisis where we find ourselves right now, the ailing state-owned entities. Of course, the Federation also looking to the State of the Nation address in terms of what came out of the pronouncements made by President Cyril Ramaphosa, and also the budget that just played out yesterday by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. A lot has been happening in the country where the workers are concerned. Cosatu worried about the unemployment that is ballooning over time. Just worried also about the state of affairs, Diabo, where the workers are concerned. You can imagine that right now, this CEC media briefing is coming at a time whereby the workers have just served the employer with that notice to go on strike in about 7 days' time. So things have not been going well in this sector. The issue of the collective bargaining, the defending of the collective bargaining is also something that came out of this engagement here today. And also Cosatu talking about issues of the just energy transition. That process, where are we with that process? Where are we in terms of the economy of the country that has been ailing over time, and those interventions that were pronounced by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana yesterday when he took to the podium? I'm going to invite into the conversation now the Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi to just expand further in terms of what came out of the three-day CEC. And we know very well that you're worried about what is happening there at Eskom. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us at the SABC. Maybe let's start with the CEC, the very first one for the year, coming through also after the election of the new leaders and office bearers of Cosatu, meaning that at this point in time you had a lot of considerations to make, and also including those that joined and not coming back in the fold of the office bearers of Cosatu. Let us in on what came out of the CEC.
Thank you very much for having us. Indeed, the CEC met the first CEC in 2023. It is not the first CEC after the Congress, because we had the last CEC in November last year. And this is the first in 2023. But we met at a time when, as you quite eloquently express, the economy that was sitting at high levels of unemployment, inequality and poverty, the issues of load shedding that continues to exacerbate the job losses through retrenchments and companies closing down, the public sector wage negotiations that seem to not find expression from government within the PSCPC negotiations, and the budget that was delivered. Look, all of these matters are matters that are of a concern to Cosatu, because if we are unable to resolve the issues of energy in our country, the rest of other issues, it will be difficult for us to resolve. For an example, the issue of quality public health care system. Currently, doctors who are overworked because government is failing to fill in the funded vacancies, you are having the ordinary South Africans having to carry that burden. You are having doctors having to fill in vacancies of other doctors or specialists that are not there. And yet they are sitting at home, over 4,000 of them, with medical qualifications and certification for them to practice, and yet they are unable to provide that services as if that services is not needed by ordinary South Africans. You have nurses that must fill in 2 more vacancies in a place, but those that are at the receiving end of poor service because of the fatigue that public servants are finding themselves are ordinary South Africans. You have the general workers in hospitals, you have police. So the entire public service, and the fact that in the budget you have more like budget cuts as it relates to that is a call for concern. Because if government says these are our key apex priorities, and what you give is the opposite of that, it means that what we seek to achieve in terms of our Freedom Charter in terms of the National Development Plan is far yet for us to achieve. And therefore, we make a call as the Federation that government, who is the employer, if we are to professionalize the state, it is not about government becoming police over public servants only to check if they are doing their work, but it is also about creating a conducive working environment for those public servants in order for you to have a professional developmental state that will be able to give the services to the people, particularly those that have nothing in South Africa.
All right. Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi, thank you very much for your time. And this coming through at a time whereby also there will be consultations with the Tripartite Alliance just to get a sense of where we are in terms of the development of the Ministry of Electricity. And Cosatu here just reacting as well to the resignation of Henry de Ruyter there, saying they are very worried about state of affairs there at Megawatt Park Eskom. But it's back to you in studio, Diabo.